Talking to Death is released weekly, every Wednesday, and brought to you absolutely free. But if you want ad-free listening and exclusive bonuses, subscribe to Tenderfoot Plus at tenderfootplus.com or on Apple Podcasts.
Talking to Death is a production of Tenderfoot TV and iHeart Podcasts. Listener discretion is advised.
Up and Vanished is taking over Talking to Death for the duration of the new season, Season 4. This is about a year-long investigation into a missing persons case, a missing woman from Nome, Alaska. Her name is Florence Okpialek. She's 33 years old, and she has not been seen since August 2020. The team and I have been going back and forth to Nome, Alaska for the past year, and we've been trying to figure out what happened to her. If you're an Up and Vanished listener and this is your first time hearing this show, I want to say thank you for coming to join us. And we will be here every week, starting on February 16th, recapping every single episode of Up and Vanished and just giving you the real deal the whole time, playing some raw, uncut audio. We'll be joined by some special guests, some other true crime podcasters. We'll explore the different ways that we as the producers of this show and you all as listeners can somehow work together and bring more awareness to not only Florence Okpialek's case, but the issue of MMIP in general. As we dove deep into this case, the crisis of missing and murdered Indigenous people was highlighted severely. The statistics are insanely alarming. Actually, Mike, do you have some pulled up right now?
Yeah, I mean, basically what we found out was there was a study from 1979 to 2020 on violent crimes in Alaska. And since 1993, there's been a steady increase in violent crimes, which is the opposite of what's happening with the rest of the country, basically. Homicides, robbery, rape, and aggravated assault. The data also shows that rape is like 3 to 4 times the national average, and aggravated assault is 2 times the national average.
These are scary statistics, and they're not just staying the same. They're not going down. They're increasing. They're getting worse. It's time to really highlight this issue and bring it to the main stage of awareness. And so this is the focus of the next season of Up and Vanished. And we really want listeners to understand the crisis that is happening as we explore Florence Okpialek's disappearance and really try to figure out what happened to her. I want to be as open and transparent as possible this season, even beyond the episodes that you hear in the actual show. There's a part of Up and Vanished that is cinematic, that is a buttoned up version of what is reality. I like portraying the story that way because I think it resonates the best with listeners. And if it can resonate with you, then I can make you care about this case. But I also want to be able to pull the curtain back a little bit and just kind of get rid of some of the mystique of what goes into making a true crime show like this. What's really going on? What kind of decisions are we making throughout this process that you maybe didn't know about? What didn't you hear in the episode that actually happened that just couldn't fit or didn't make sense that would give you some more clarity and nuance as to why the investigation is going in this direction? It's completely true to say that right now in this exact moment, we are neck deep in this investigation. I think this could be a really cool way to keep you as listeners up to speed on what's going on minute by minute as it's happening, and be able to expand your scope of knowledge on this case and find different ways that maybe even you could help us figure this out. This is season 4, and we decided collectively at Tenderfoot that maybe we should give this season a subtitle name. Having been in Alaska throughout the summer with you, Mike, and Dylan, and Cooper, and everyone else who came out there and helped on this show, when we first got there, it was in the time period where it's daylight almost 24/7. And, I'd heard about this in movies and stuff like that, but I've never experienced that much daylight constantly. And I will say, landing in Anchorage at 1 a.m. and it looking like it's 1 p.m. is a little bit of a brain buster. And eventually you start to forget that there can even be night. I also found it interesting that when Florence Okpialuk went missing in the middle of the night, it would have been broad daylight. And that's just an ironic fact, because when you think about the middle of the night, pretty much anywhere else, you're thinking it's probably pitch black. So one of our producers named Cooper is originally from a tiny town in Alaska, actually a little bit further north than where Nome is. I mean, a very, very small place. I think he said he went to school with like 8 other people. His high school graduating class was like 8 people. I was talking with Cooper a long time ago about what the next case should be for season 4 of Up and Vanished. He pulled up this case of a 33-year-old woman who went missing from a tiny town called Nome, right on the edge of the Arctic Circle, and in a town of around 3,000 people, and they have no clue what happened to her, no body, no evidence, and all these years later, the police have no damn clue what's going on. How does someone go missing in such a small place and no one here know anything? It just didn't seem right. Over the years since Up and Vanished started, we've received in the tens of thousands of emails from other listeners, families, and friends of loved ones who are missing. So a few weeks after I was looking into Florence's case, I was going through this email and just typing in keywords like Alaska and stuff like that, trying to see if there were any other cases that someone had sent me, or I don't know, just any sort of connection that I could make that maybe was already right there hiding under my nose. I typed in Nome, the name of the town that she went missing from, and there was one email. This woman named Deila had emailed the Up and Vanished email. I love the podcast. I started listening a month ago, and I'm all caught up on the latest episode in season 3, and I'd like to request you to look into the case of my friend who went missing in August 2020. She's a young Native American, which is why I began listening to your podcast in the first place, and she has a little girl. There are no leads in her case. Law enforcement has made zero progress and lack effort in their investigating. And her name is Florence Okpialuk. My first thought is, holy shit, how did we miss this? Well, the simple answer is because there's tens of thousands of emails, but the fact that somebody from her family had reached out just changed everything in my mind. So I was no longer trying to determine whether or not this should be the focus of Up and Vanished's new season. I made the decision right then and there that this is the case. This feels right. And within 2 days, I think, Mike, you and I were on a flight to Oregon, where she lives now, and talking to her and having her unpack what she knows about this case.
Yeah. It started very quickly, and it turned into a lot of plane rides.
From that point forward, we just started talking to one person, and then another person, then another person. And eventually, over the course of a few months, we have really fully embedded ourselves in this case and parts of the community. And now we find ourselves talking to some suspicious characters and people that I would consider persons of interest in her disappearance. There's just so much to say about this case, and we've learned so much since the very beginning. And I'm just anxious to get this new season out and rolling for you all to listen to it and experience what's going on in Nome as a listener, and maybe together we can help figure out what happened. I think that if we can shake the trees hard enough in a place like Nome, Alaska, the truth is bound to come out eventually. So every week in the beginning parts of new episodes of Talking to Death, we're going to break down the latest episode of Up and Vanished and really pull back the curtain and just show you everything and put it all out on the table, because we want to figure out what happened to Florence. And we're not afraid to show everything that we got. So please subscribe to Talking to Death and stay tuned for the release of Up and Vanished Season 4 in the Midnight Sun, coming on February 16th. And we'll also have a few special guests that are true crime podcasters, some friends of mine, some experts, who will all be up to speed on these episodes as well, so we can really have deep, nuanced conversations about this issue and try to put our heads together and solve this damn thing. Today's guest is a friend of mine who I met years ago. He's a pretty famous actor. His name is Milo Ventimiglia, and you may know him from the show This Is Us, which he starred in and it was amazing in. Or you might know him from Gilmore Girls, which there are a lot of fans of. He's just such a kind person, and I've known him for a few years now, only because he was a listener of Up and Vanished Season 1 back in the day. He sent us an email years ago while he was listening to Up and Vanished Season 1, and we got on a Zoom call with him, and he told me that he wants to make the concept of Up and Vanished into some sort of scripted TV series or scripted movie, and that he wanted to play me. I'm like, okay. One, I'm not as good looking as you are, Milo, but thank you, I'm flattered. But that's really how this whole relationship started. We talk about his career, how he deals with being a celebrity. We also talk about Up and Vanished and my experiences investigating a cold case and being this fish out of water in a small town. But it's a really fun episode. I think you'll enjoy it. Oh, wait. Before we get to that, I want to announce the winner of the contest we had. A few weeks back, we held a contest on Talking to Death, where if you subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your podcast app, we are going to give away a full-fledged, real-deal podcasting kit. What I wish existed when I first started podcasting in 2016 and was Googling, how do you record a podcast? Well, through years of trial and error, we've figured out what we think is the best setup for you to start a podcast. And we've put it all together for you. A nice microphone, a recorder, the headphones. It's awesome. It's a really sweet setup. So I want to announce the winner. This person's title is Inspired by Payne. Hey, Payne, I've been inspired by your amazing storytelling since episode 1 of season 1, the first show. This show is impeccable because we get to hear how your mind works. If I win, I'd love to do a podcast on mental health, and I'd love for you to be a part of it. I work in psych, and I am in the Maybe We're Born With It, maybe it's the Sertraline Club. I do take that. Okay, this person seems awesome, and sure, I'll definitely be a guest on your new podcast about mental health. That sounds very interesting and important. This person's username is WooFan519. You won this podcasting kit. I think giving away just one kit feels a little stingy. So since we got some new listeners here from the Up and Vanished audience, which thank you for joining us today, if you want to win your own podcasting setup, then you can do so. All you have to do is subscribe to Talking to Death on your podcast app, rate it. You know, you can do 4 stars, but 5 stars is going to bump you up to the top a little bit. Rate it 5 stars and leave a review. We will pick a winner on the release date of Up and Vanished, which is February 16th, and we'll announce it right here. So stay subscribed so you can get all of the in-depth follow-ups to every episode this season. And hopefully you stick around for Milo's interview in this episode, which is really good. And if you stick around to the very end of the episode, right after his interview, I play a clip from episode 1 of Up and Vanished, a much longer clip that I think you'll find is very interesting and compelling, that really speaks to the tone of this new show and just how intense things are continuing to get while we're still investigating this case. So stay tuned at the end of Milo's interview for an exclusive clip from episode 1 that you can only hear right here on Talking to Death. In the meantime, please subscribe to the show, rate and review it if you want to win a podcast kit. Yeah, without further ado, let's kick to Milo. Hope you enjoy the show.
It's like old-timey radio.
It is. You feel like a radio host?
No.
No? Could you host a podcast?
Probably not.
You could. Do you want to?
I could. I'm not sure I have the personality for it.
What does that mean?
I think to kind of like keep an ongoing conversation, to like keep interest, to keep kind of going. I think, there was a moment when Russ and I were dabbling in it, thinking about doing something. And I was like, I think there's people better suited for it.
Okay.
People better suited for it than me.
Just fill in the time, like a whole hour of like, what are we talking about? Are we going to
a little bit.
Do we think we're funny, but maybe we're not?
Kind
right?
of. Yeah. It feels a little onerous, but.
Well, we did a little deep dive on you just because I wanted to find all the good stuff.
Yeah. I was going to say, you and I are always like talking about just like some like business and some shit.
Yeah.
And it's like, this is the first time we were like really sitting down.
I know.
It's kind of fucking exciting.
Yeah. Also, it's kind of crazy though. I mean, we've had fun, but it's always been about, hey, this project and what's the next step and do we take it here or there and, not out grabbing dinner and all that stuff like casual, right?
Man. Exactly.
So yeah, I'm excited to talk to you
Good to share a table with you.
We'll record it, right?
Yep. Perfect.
So we'll remember it forever.
Perfect.
Your first role, what was it?
First paying gig was Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
That's wild.
Yeah.
And who'd you play?
I played party guest number 1. Exciting, always told story about
just a bro or what?
I was a kid at a high school party, and then I was walking down the steps with a girl on my arm, and Ashley's freaking out that all these people are around her house. And nobody's supposed to be upstairs, but I, of course, was upstairs. And so she runs up to me and says, hey, nobody's supposed to be up there. And I say, relax, Ash, we're just taking a little tour. Actually, the funny thing, though, and I laugh and I walk off in my overalls and my hair parted so
overalls
because
in this
it was
character?
1995. Well, 95, dude.
I mean, was that what was cool? I don't know.
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think it was very much so. That and like a
Bring it back.
Pep Boys t-shirt. The wild part is, though, I'm cleaning out my house right now, and I found a box from college, and I found the original script from that episode of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I still have it.
That's badass.
Yeah. Every job that I do, I hang on to either a call sheet, a crew list, or a script. So I don't know how many jobs I've done in the past 29 years in front of the camera, but I've got a script for every job.
That's pretty cool.
Just one.
Why'd you want to be an actor? Because I mean, I feel like if I told my parents that, they'd be like, okay, get a real job.
Yeah.
Right? Because I mean, it's tough. You can be really successful in the middle. You can struggle your whole life, and I don't know.
Well, it's also the odds that you're going to do something significant, odds that you're actually going to make a living at it. They're against you. So, my parents, they were always really supportive of my sisters and I. And I had 2 other career paths. I was either going to go into the Navy and be an aviator, or I wanted to be a pediatric surgeon. I wanted to be a doctor.
Those are very different. Yeah. A pediatric surgeon. Where'd that one come from?
I wanted to help kids.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, and I was like, what's the hardest thing? What would mentally, emotionally be the hardest thing to do?
Wow.
The science of like treating children. I was like, okay, cool, I'll do that. Got to college, realized I'm like, I don't think that's in my profession. I don't think that's in my head to do. But then I just, I'd always been into the arts, always been into being on stage and performing. And my high school theater teacher, she told me, she was like, Milo, you can have a career in this. You can actually like do something
Your
with
high school teacher told
my high school teacher, yeah, Mariana Herida. She was one that told me like, you can have a career. You can be a professional
Did
actor.
you believe her?
Whether I did or not, it's not that I believed her, it's did I believe in myself?
Okay.
That was the thing that I had to figure out.
Okay.
I believed her when she said it, but I wasn't sure about it within myself.
But you got to feel that way, right? Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And like I had confidence, and in high school I was wrestling, I was doing like student politics, and then I was acting. And then of course schoolwork and whatnot. And I remember my teacher said to me, are you going to be a professional wrestler? And I go, no.
That'd been really cool.
I'd been kind of rad, right?
Not the coolest, right?
Yeah, I know. And I don't think I have the size for it. But I was like, okay. And then I just kind of went for it, passed up the idea of flying jets for the Navy. Being a doctor just seemed overwhelming with a lot of information and knowledge. And I had the heart, but maybe I didn't have the head for it. And then I got into UCLA in the theater program. And I moved to LA, and my parents were paying for my school. And I had like 2 jobs, working at a snowboard shop, waiting tables, plus school, plus auditioning. And then work just started going. And then, 28 years later, you're sitting in the middle of a strike.
Yeah,
thinking about
that's
like
wild.
Yeah, I know. I went from that
also
to this.
28 years. It's a long time.
Yeah,
it's a lot of acting.
It is a lot of acting, man. It is a lot of words, a lot of characters in my head, a lot of that stuff.
Was there ever a moment where you thought, "Hey, this isn't going to work," like halfway through or something? Or
I'd say there were two solid moments where I was ready to just like throw in the towel. I was done.
Really?
Well, I started to realize that the business itself was getting in the way of my desire to be an artist.
What do you mean?
You as an actor, you have to get picked. Okay. You have to get picked for a job. You have to get picked to work. And that's really...
Just because you want to doesn't mean that...
Just because you want to, it doesn't mean you get a job. And just because you're there and you're showing up doesn't mean that you get a job. You may be the best actor. You're not going to get the job. They may pick someone with blonde hair versus dark hair, and it's just kind of the way that it goes. They're not buying what you're selling.
And this,
I don't
know.
on
the role. But
we could arm wrestle over, man. I'm sure they'd probably pick you.
I beat you in that, but...
But it's like there's no guarantee. So I think I was at a point in my career at, I think I was in my 30s, early 30s. I'd already had some successes. I had Gilmore Girls come out, had a TV show called Heroes come out.
Mm-hmm. Were you making money at that time?
Yeah, I was
were you
making
sustainable,
money. No, I was making money. I was like, that was the only, quit waiting tables, working at a snowboard shop when I was 21.
Oh, wow.
Acting's been supporting me since I was 21.
Were you struggling through that period, or were you actually like making ends meet?
No, I was more than making ends meet.
Oh, cool.
Like I bought a washer and dryer.
You made it.
I bought a house eventually, picked up another home, something my parents can stay in when they visit my sister. It's like for all intents and purposes, like I was doing very well. I was having some success and some freedom, and because of it. But in my early 30s, on the heels of Heroes, I just wasn't working. Nobody was hiring me.
Okay.
And I think people had this probably idea of who I was based on the previous character
kind of thing, or what?
Yeah, a little bit like a previous character, but then I didn't realize I was in a transitional stage as a man. When I was 28, 29, 30, I still looked really, really young. And when I was getting into my early 30s, I think I started to physically change. And it was right before that physical change where nobody was hiring the 20-something-year-old Milo. And then I kind of started looking at liquidating. I was going to sell my houses. I was going to liquidate stocks. I was just going to sell a car. I was going to get rid of everything.
And do what?
Take a bag, move to Italy on my Italian passport.
Wow.
Find a farm to work on and literally just work on a farm for a bunch of years and just get away from it. Because it's one of those things as an artist, you desire to be around other artists. You desire to work. You desire to be a part of a show, a job, a play, anything. But nobody's hiring you.
Yeah.
It fucks with you. It definitely
kind of deflating a little bit.
Really deflating. Really, really deflating. And I just had enough. And so I decided to start to wrap my head around the idea of liquidating. And then once I did, I got a little independent film, actually that Russ and I produced, and it cost me money to be in it. We didn't get paid for the job.
Okay, just like hey, we're going to put something out there in the world.
It was just something that we were going to do. We got pulled into it. But then we ended up doing a lot on it. And then right after that, I got another small independent film, and the filmmaker didn't want to let her down. I was like, hey man, you picked me, so I'm here for you. I know it's shit money. I know I'm far away from home. I know it's a strange movie playing a vampire in a Connecticut home, and I'm living in the set because the mansion we're filming in. But fuck it, you picked me, so I'm here. I'm here giving you my everything. And then right while I was in Connecticut doing that vampire movie, I get my next opportunity, which is an Adam Sandler film. Randomly throw myself on tape.
Which movie?
This was That's My Boy.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, playing Chad, the Marine.
You were Chad.
Chad, the
What's
Marine.
Chad like? Is he like Chad? Like every other Chad?
Pretty much.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. He's a meathead. Meathead Marine. I say Marine in air quotes because you haven't seen the film. You find out he's not a Marine, but he pretends very much to be a Marine. But I threw myself on tape, broad comedy, doing some like wild shit that I hadn't done since my early 20s.
Sounds fun.
It was great. It was a blast. And then the next day, 2 o'clock, I put myself on tape at midnight, 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was on the phone with Adam Sandler. He's like, we're going to have a great summer, buddy. It's going to be great. We're going to be in Massachusetts. It's going to be awesome. You're going to have a great time. And I'm like, this is fucking crazy. I was ready to like pack up my bags, get the fuck out, move to Italy on a passport. And now I'm working with Adam Sandler.
Wow.
Yeah. And it just kind of like hadn't stopped since then.
What did Adam tell you when you're working on set?
He didn't say anything. He's one of those guys you just have to like be around. You feel the positivity, you feel the creativity, and you feel inspired. He's a very wonderful, inclusive, top of his game kind of actor, producer who just he wants the best from everybody around him, and he gives his best, and he's supportive. Like what I found on that set was I was around a bunch of real forward-thinking comedians, like tons of guys. Nick Swardson, Dave Spade, all these guys. I know Chris Rock was the next summer in Grown Ups too. But I was around all these like heavy hitter comedians, and when you're on set doing a scene, you would have to have alternate lines. You'd have to have alternate, one-liners, and you'd also not only have to have them for yourself, you'd have to have them for other characters.
Really?
Oh yeah. So like you have to show up. Will Forte was on that. Andy Samberg was on that. Just like a lot of like...
It's a big kind of pivot. Like you're doing improv comedy stuff at that moment.
Totally improv comedy stuff. And like, I'd throw lines out and Sandberg would be like, oh, that's funny. And he'd use it and then make the movie. Nice. And you're like, holy shit, that's kind of crazy.
One of you guys.
Yeah. Well, that's what I thought. I thought I was one of them.
Okay.
And Sandler would say to me, no, we're a bunch of dipshits. You're a real actor. And I'm like,
wow.
No, I'm one of you guys. Like, no. We're a bunch of dipshits. You're a real actor.
Wow.
And I was like, all right, I'll take the compliment, but also like, no, man, I'm one of you guys.
Did it make you think about that? Like maybe there's another chapter of your life beyond the acting you've done before?
No, because for me, acting is acting. It doesn't matter if you're on something that costs $77 and you're doing it with your friends, or you're on a big Adam Sandler comedy, or you're on a show as serious and heartfelt as This Is Us.
Yeah.
It's all the same. Yeah. You embody the character you're playing. You put your full heart into it. You make them real. You make them believable. And beyond that, have a good time. It's the same. It's all the same.
After Heroes, they kind of looked at you like Hollywood execs were looking at you as the younger guy, but you were transitioning to an older man.
Yeah.
And I guess at some point they realized, holy shit, this guy's getting better looking.
Thanks, man.
And that's how, or what happened?
There was an executive, guy named Greg Silverman. He was running Warner Brothers Studio Films. His younger brother had been my agent's assistant when I was in my early 20s. So I just kind of knew Greg. When I was working on Gilmore Girls, I'd see him around the Warner Brothers lot, and he was around, hey, Greg, how's it going? Hey, Milo, how you doing? Always like really, really nice guy. And, in the back of my mind, I'm like, acting is acting. To TV, film, it doesn't matter. So I would always feel like because I knew one of the higher-ups at Warner Brothers Film, maybe I'd have a moment to get an opportunity on a movie with Warner's. Wasn't the case. We bumped into each other, I think somewhere around my early 30s. I think I'd gotten home from the Sandler film and I packed on a lot of weight, like a lot of muscle.
Just eating.
just eating everything. Eating a lot, working out
eating
a
like
lot.
them?
Yeah. Eating a lot,
That's awesome.
Working out a lot. But I just had physically transformed, and he had reached out to me. Randomly, he just reached out to me to talk about art or something that he'd seen on my Instagram. And I went to his office at Warner's and we sat down and we were talking about some art stuff, and he was kind of pushing me in the direction of meeting some other fine artists, and he wanted to kind of shepherd that career as a photographer. And then we started talking about just film work in the business. And he said to me, he goes, it's great that we're sitting and talking now. You're 33 years old, 34 years old. He goes, we couldn't do anything with you when you were in your 20s. He goes, men get much more interesting in their 30s, more complex. There are roles that are better suited for guys like you now. So he goes, it's great that we're getting reacquainted. Did I get a Warner Brothers feature after that? No, I didn't. Did I have a burgeoning art career? No, I haven't.
Right.
But it was also a good reminder that there are stages with regards to being an actor where you are, constantly growing, constantly evolving, and you're never really going to find an end. You just have to find that evolution.
What do you mean an end? Like there is no end game?
In terms of, I was going to quit the business. I was going to fuck off and live in Italy.
Okay.
End. Right? Like saying,
but that's
hey,
kind of like, I'm not doing this anymore.
I'm not doing this anymore.
Uh-huh.
But I think what I learned was to embrace the change of myself.
Okay.
And the roles that I could be playing. It's like, I'll mention it from time to time, like I look forward to playing a grandfather. Hopefully, I'm still acting when I'm in my 70s or my 80s,
right.
And I'll probably be getting like grandpa type roles, and that'll be great. Like This Is Us, I was finally playing, a husband, a father of 3, stuff like that, Like, did I kind of look at myself and think to myself, oh man, I'm America's dad? No.
Well, you became that.
But I became that. But really, all I was doing was playing a version of my own dad and playing a version of like other great dads that I knew. Like I had a ton of guys my age that, had young kids, and I see the way that they were with are with their kids, and I remember the way my dad was with me, and I'm like, well, let me just embody that. Let me like drop that deep down into my core, into my soul, into my heart, into my balls, and just become that. And thank God we had wonderful writers that could reflect that,
right?
Because that helps. But then, performance-wise, it's like just make the words sing, make them real, make them believable.
This Is Us. How long was that show running? I mean, a long time, and that was like a really huge show.
Yeah, we did.
Very successful.
We did 6 seasons on that.
Did your fame change from your perspective,
yes,
like before and after that show?
Yeah, like
give me an example of that, or how you realized that the first time.
Every, let's say, large job that I've had, and I'll say the kind of touchstones, Gilmore Girls, Heroes, and This Is Us. And there's, of course, other jobs in between, some Sandler films, Rocky Balboa, stuff like that. But when you start getting different people walking up to you on the street, with Gilmore Girls, there's a lot of like, college age, 20-something-year-old women and their boyfriends. And their boyfriends are like, yeah, I like that show too.
He's like, not bad.
Yeah.
I kinda like you.
But like, yo, man, like Team Jeff.
It's cool, bro.
Yeah, totally. Heroes was definitely an international crowd. Like, I'd be in Japan and people are like, Peter Petrelli. And I'm like, yeah.
Is that wild?
Yeah. Or, oh, no, wait, actually even crazier. I was in Turkey. I was on my way to an Air Force base in Incirlik Air Force Base in Turkey. On a USO tour, and I was at Ataturk Airport, and I saw some guy from like way across the airport terminal, and I was standing in line to go through security, and the dude runs up to me and just looks at me, like stops right with this, partition, and I'm like, what's going on?
Are you good?
Yeah, and then the guy's like, I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
You're like,
that's all he can say is, I don't believe you. And he's like trying to like get the point across. Like,
know what to say.
I don't believe you. And I was
so what do you say?
I was like, hey, man.
I don't believe you either.
No, I was like, hey, man, how are you? Milo, nice to meet you. And like, he was a real, real sweet guy, and like shook his hand, but then security line's moving, so I got to keep going. But like international. And then This Is Us was everyone.
Yeah.
Every age, every race, every religion, everything. Everybody would say something to me positive, enlightening, and also reflective of their own life, which was the wonderful thing about that show was it hit everybody in the heart. You didn't have to be, in your 20s. You didn't have to be in your 60s. You didn't have to, live on an island in the mountains, in the ocean, on land, wherever. It's like you could be anyone and connect to nearly every character on that show. And if you didn't connect to all of them, you could definitely connect to one or two of them and stick around.
Was that fulfilling as an actor to have that positive impact?
Very much so. That's what that's the real goal, is when you understand that your hours on set, your time learning lines, your care of the other actor across from you, your support of the crew that's there longer than the actors are, means it, because it's touching somebody in their real life. And when they're able to vocalize that and tell you about it and even get emotional with it, you're like, holy shit, art has just crossed over to something entirely different. And it's a wonderful, wonderful thing.
Did you take that and build your character even more from it? I mean, did you, I don't know, like, did it propel you in some way, or did it just affirm that this was correct?
I think it affirmed the project, you know, like how good this project was. And it was good from the inside, which was the special part for us making it. The crew, the cast, the writers, the studio, the network, everybody was very positive with the whole experience. We had hard days, you know, you butt heads with a few people in moments, but everybody was there, grateful of the work, grateful of the job, grateful of the opportunity, because it was just so rewarding, and you knew it was giving back in a way that nothing else could match it. So I didn't discover anything new because of it. I was just reaffirmed that, oh, we're on the right path. Yeah, we're doing really good work.
So 6 years of this show,
yeah,
you've entered a new level of notoriety just among viewers globally. What's the best and worst thing about being famous?
The best. I mean, listen.
Give me a perk. I mean, obviously the positivity is great.
I was just about to give you the bullshit one. Actually, not the bullshit, because it's really sincere and it's positive. Is people smiling at you?
Yeah.
You know, like, you never really think about it. Like when you're just kind of out walking in the streets and you pass by somebody, and I'm a friendly person. Nice. I smile at people. A lot of people smile a little bit more.
Not everyone does that.
Not everyone does that. But, you know, you walking into a restaurant, maybe someone's going to take notice. Maybe if you're trying to get a building permit in Los Angeles, maybe they notice who you are and they don't give a fuck.
Right.
You know, the downside of that, it comes with many interruptions in a day. And they are at times interruptions, but it's also as part of what the job is.
What kind of interruptions?
Oh, just somebody stopping you, somebody want to take a photo, somebody.
Okay, just a casual day out is not necessarily.
It's not a casual
like
day
that.
out. No. You know, and you know, as nice as it is an experience maybe for that person, when you stack up going out in one given day and you kind of can't get to the front of the line for your coffee without talking to 20 people. Like,
yeah.
You have those days where you just kind of want to, like, just be quiet. You want to be quiet. You want to just, like, sit in your own head. You know, you could give somebody a coffee order or order a meal or go to a movie and just kind of, like, sit quiet. That's just gone.
Gone.
It's just gone.
So what do you do instead?
Smile. Be grateful. You know?
You ever plan your day differently based on, I don't want someone to take a picture of me over here in these joggers or whatever?
I guess also, like, always be prepared. Like, I was walking my dog in the neighborhood, like, rolled out of bed, tossed on some shorts and a t-shirt and a cap. I don't know if that shit matched, but it's like, who gives a fuck? I'm walking my
that's the new
dog.
Swag now.
Yeah, dude, I'm walking my dog. Or, you know, walking out of a gym, you know, super pumped up and, like, have my shorts pulled up and get snapped, and all of a sudden it busts the internet like Kim Kardashian's, you know, back end. But, you know, it's like, those things happen. It's part of the job. It is what it is. And I think it also means that people are paying attention. And if people are paying attention, what is your intention out in the world? What are you going to do? Are you going to be a dick? Or are you going to be positive?
Yeah.
You know, I think I always try to be positive. 99% of the time I can be positive, you know, but it's also, there's those human moments. Like this morning, I'm waiting in line to grab a bagel, and I've got my dog, and the gal behind me just reaches down and starts petting him. I go, excuse me, you may want to ask before you do that. And she goes, can I pet your dog? I go, yeah, go ahead. You can say hi. But, like, I realized in that moment, I'm like, fuck, was that sharp? Like, I think I might have been a little sharp.
Say it again.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, say it again. Yeah, hey, here it is. Oh, the world.
There he is.
You know? Yeah, it is what it is. It is what it is, you know?
I think you've played, and This Is Us especially, this very powerful, positive character that had a great impact on people's lives, and, you know, the way that they're dealing with their own stuff, which is awesome. And is there any sort of negativity that you see from like haters on the internet, or I don't know, people writing shit about you, and how do you deal with that?
Have a good relationship with the LA Police Department and LA Sheriff Department.
Speed dial or what?
You got friends.
Mm-hmm.
Stalkers are real. Things like that, it happens. Oh yeah. I've had people knock on my front doors before. Great.
What do they want to
cameras.
do? Just see you?
Talk. For the most part.
What do they think is going to happen?
I have no idea. Probably like, invite them in and be their best friend for however long the rest of their lives. I don't know. I mean, it's interesting being, let's say, on the other side of it.
Mm-hmm.
If there's a musician or an artist or an actor, writer, director, anybody in the arts, whatever, athlete that I admire, I see that. I'm always just like, hey man, I appreciate your work. Hey, I love your work. Hey, I appreciate you and what you stand up for, like anything like that. Like, I just keep it really simple. I've been on the other side of it, but when it becomes this like fervent desire to know and almost intrude in somebody's lives, like I never want to do that, but I can't understand why anybody else would want to do that. But it's the cult of celebrity too. I think people escape their own lives and they create a life. And here's an interesting thing. I'm primarily a television actor, which means I'm in people's homes. I'm in their bedrooms with them.
Is that a factor, you think?
Oh, 100%. And especially
versus
now,
like the theater, the big screen.
Well, especially now
in your room.
I think now it's changed up a little bit. Everybody can be in their bedroom with Brad Pitt.
Right.
Before,
not everybody, but
not everybody. But like you'd have to buy a movie ticket. You'd have to go to a theater, leave your house, spend money to go be with Brad Pitt.
Yeah.
Whereas a guy like me who's on your television every Tuesday or Sunday or Friday or whatever show I'm on, you can be laying in bed. You don't have to change. I love you just the way you are. So I think it's a strange thing where there's a familiarity to primarily television actors, although now it's like everything's on streaming and online and on your TVs at home. So like nobody even goes to the theater, which is sad.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like that creates a bit more familiarity and a bit more fantasy fulfillment. So people truly think that I am a part of their world. Not that they know me, but I am a part of their world, Like it would almost be that'd be a funny movie if you had somebody that was like, a fan of some actor, and then all of a sudden, they have these fantasies that this actor is like really in the room with them and like living their lives. Like I bet that shit is real. I bet people totally experience that.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
If you're knocking on your door randomly, thinking that we're gonna have a combo today and it's all good, you're thinking something else that's not true, right?
Yeah, totally. But then like when, you're actually confronted with that and like, knock on the door and you open the door and, there's a mom with her, I'd say early adult son.
Okay.
And she just goes, oh my God, it's you.
So what do you do?
Have a conversation with them.
And then what do you do?
Let them know it wasn't right to knock on someone's door.
Mm-hmm.
Ask if they're going to be visiting anybody else, whether in the city of Los Angeles.
Okay.
And encourage them to just go to Disneyland, go see some sights, have some good meals.
Did they drive to you from some faraway place?
I have no idea.
But could have. Yeah, maybe.
I have no idea. I've had people with foreign accents knock on my door. I've had all kinds of things. Yeah. Like I said, you become friends with law enforcement. It's not a bad thing.
Is there any other celebrity, artist, or musician that you're just such a fan of that you would be starstruck by?
I don't really get starstruck.
Really?
No. I mean, I think because no matter what, at the end of the day, it's like we're all people.
Mm-hmm.
Every single one of us, we're all the same. 100% the same. There are people I admire. I can't even call one out by name, but I don't think I'd be starstruck.
Mm-hmm.
I think I recognize the human being first and the artist, athlete, whatever, anything beyond musician second, So I wouldn't feel struck to walk up and talk to somebody, have a conversation with someone, And even like too, like not even because I am who I am in the business that I'm in, but just like human to human. It's like, oh wow, there's someone that I know. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
Like I went surfed down in Huntington Beach like a while back with a buddy, and there was the U.S. Open, I think the first week, or there's some tournament down there, and saw just like a bunch of surfers, and like I was like, oh, there's so and so. Oh, there's so and so. Oh, there's so and so. Cool, food's here. You know, it's like, you know,
Yeah.
but like, am I gonna run up and, you know, talk to people? No. Do I need to make friends with them? No. I can still admire them. You know.
What's the biggest misconception about Milo? Is there one?
I don't know what conceptions are out there.
You don't? I mean, I'm not saying that there is any, but like,
I have no idea.
I mean, people. I've never seen them say anything bad about you, but they talk about your life a little bit.
Oh, sure. I
You
mean,
feel like they understand the real you, or
I think there's a version that I give to life. It's a very deep reflection of who I am.
mm-hmm.
You know, my mom and my dad, they raised my sisters and I with a lot of kindness and care. I feel a lot of strength and a lot of heart. And when I'm out in the world, you know, it's I kind of lead with all of that. But I also, in moments, have to remember that in my job, there are a lot of people looking, but not looking because like, oh, hey, that's Milo Ventimiglia, but like just wanting to like dig and claw and like really kind of see behind, you know, the door a little bit deeper, something like that. And I don't know. I think because of that, it causes me to, yes, still be kind, but I'm also pretty reserved.
Okay.
You know?
Consciously.
Like, yeah, consciously. Like I have to understand that, you know, however I interact with somebody, that person may remember it. They may remember details. They remember things, and therefore they have information. And, you know, it's kind of like, how do you keep a private life private or personal life personal, but yet be a public figure at the same time? You know, it's like it's a dance, but fundamentally it's like, no, it's like just be a calm person, be like a decent person, you know. Just there's a version of who I am fundamentally that's always represented out in the world. You know.
Do you remember how we met like a few years ago?
I mean, it was Russ.
It was Russ
Russ
first.
cold called.
Yeah,
cold
called.
Yep.
Why did he call us? What was the plan?
Because you guys are talented. Because you guys had a story to tell that we thought was fucking fascinating.
Did you feel like you knew me from listening to the podcast?
No.
Were you gonna stalk me?
No, wasn't gonna stalk you. No, yeah, have my big friend call you. That's the first thing. Yeah, because it'd be a little weird if Milo Ventimiglia picked up the phone and call. I think you had a lot of personality in it.
Mm-hmm.
I think you presented, again, a version of who you are, and then over time, getting to know you, it's like, oh yeah, no, I see what you had to do within, you know, within the walls of Up and Vanished.
Yeah.
But also, it's like, oh, that's only this much of who you are. That's only a small portion of who you are. And then as time we get to know each other, it's like, oh shit, no, there's a lot more than just that little bit that you get. It's the same thing with like me, you know, people get a small taste and, you know, an hour of TV once a week, you know, but it's like there's a whole other human being inside there.
It was cool to me when we first met, you and Russ. You guys mentioned the correlation between Donald and I, my business partner, and your relationship with him.
Yeah.
Tell me about Russ and your relationship and how important that is.
Oh, man. We're pretty much married 3 times over in business. We've been friends, 20... God, I don't even think I can count. 25 plus years, something like that. 24 plus years. 24 plus years, yeah. But we share the same goals, but we have different ways to get there. We have
how so though? Like he doesn't want to be an actor, kind of thing.
He doesn't want to be an actor, but like he also wants to tell stories. He wants
of course, yeah. But you guys can have your roles or something.
There you go. We have our roles. You know, it's like he knows that I'm the artist on set.
Right.
He's the guy in the office getting me on set. You know, we have our dynamics, but then fundamentally, like how we get there, and when we're, let's say, you know, on a set or in battle or whatever like that, you're like, we're there looking out for one another. You know, nobody's closer. I mean, I could be on a set with my actors. Russ and I are still closer because there's a bigger thing going on that we've been doing for years, and we've been kind of working on, and, you know, his growth is my growth and my growth is his growth. Yeah. Which ultimately kind of like carries into our company, like Deanna, who works with us for now almost 8 years.
She's great.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
It's like any relationship, though. It's like, you know, you've got to evolve, you've got to grow. And moments, you know, things are going to be trying, but you also have to understand why this person means so much to you. You know,
and
like,
why is that?
Because I care about Russ.
Yeah.
I care about him as a person. Like, he's my best friend. Like, I care about him as a human being. I want to see him succeed. And because of that, I will break my ass to make that happen for my friend, not even for me, you know? For him. And I believe that he feels the same, you know? So it's just one of those partnerships that works.
Yeah.
And you know,
is it cool to share that with your best friend?
Oh, dude, it's
just
great.
Because not everyone has that, really, right?
No.
That best friend person that you trusted kind of before all this.
Yeah.
That can be along this ride with you and share it with you.
Yeah.
Right.
It's interesting. It's fascinating because, you know, what I see is a lot of actors producing partners. Like, they just pick one up. Yeah. All of a sudden you get some success, you get a deal somewhere, and they just pick up a partner. I'm like, I've got one I've been kind of doing life with for old dog. Been like doing it for a long time. Yeah. Right. For a long time. So within that, you know, it's comforting. Yeah. But it's also like, you still got to get out there and hustle. You got to like work, you know, and Russ works pretty fucking hard.
Tara Grinstead case. You listened to Up and Vanish season 1. What did you think about that towards the end? What happened to her? Like,
as it was like evolving,
who
like
did it?
Real,
what happened to her?
Real life, like
like the
when
real
Josh
case.
was on the fucking run, and I mean, it was one of those things where you kind of like, this is all. I just listened to a story that I did not know about, and wait, it's still happening. Yeah. I don't know. It's kind of unbelievable, like the circumstances of everything and like how it all kind of went down. But then, you know, where you were able to pick up on something, talk to your grandmother, and then figure out like, oh, I'm going to go to this town. Like, that's bananas. Yeah. And then you and Donald like really getting into the shit. Yeah. And talking to everybody and piecing things together. And then you guys pretty much like reopening this case. And then it has, you know, a roundup. It's like, that's crazy. Again, art impacting life.
The business stuff we were talking about when we first met was this idea of making a scripted version of Up and Vanished. And you were like, I want to play you, Payne. Yeah. And I was like, holy, I don't look anything like that guy.
It's okay, man. I could bleach my hair blonde.
You could, right? Yeah. But then you kind of changed later on and said, I want to play the bad guy. Yeah. What was that thought line there? The challenge of it, or?
I think everybody expects, you know, you're an actor who also produces. I think everybody expects you to jump into what that lead role is. You know, you and Donald investigating. Like there were many versions that we had talked about. Yeah, you know, finding other great actors, like, I don't know, a guy like Mo McRae play Donald, who's a good friend. You know, me playing you, but it also, I started really kind of look at myself. I'm like, fuck, I'm getting a little older. Right. And there was something about you at the time when you were recording that, you were younger, and I felt like there were ideas you had about the world, but then this experience of investigating that changed all that. Yeah. And I felt like where I was already in my maturity, I couldn't go back to play somebody that was discovering that.
What you're saying.
Not grow up.
Kidding.
No.
I see what you're saying.
But not grow up, but it's like, you know, like I can't, it's not believable to me playing someone that's just having that self-discovery, whose life is completely fucking shifted, who pretty much grew up in the course of, well, there are 5 of them, right? Oh shit, there was 10, 19. Fuck, I can't remember how long it is. I listened to the whole thing all in one.
Season 1?
Yeah.
Was like 1 million episodes.
It was 1 million. It was a lot. But like, you know, there was a lot that I think you had experienced in your journey, you know? And I think where I was I'm like, I don't know if I can play that character anymore. It's not believable. I don't believe myself that I could play the guy who's discovering something like you were discovering of yourself, of the world, of the surroundings, of everything. So then I kind of pivoted, and when Russ and I were talking, he's like, dude, you gotta just put on some weight, grow a beard, and play Josh. And I was like, that'd be fucking sick.
He was just fucking with you.
He was fucking with me, but it was also like kind of a challenge, you know? It's one of those things like...
So do you like that sort of... I mean, I feel like it's would be the coolest shit ever to become this character, right?
Sure.
Just full commit.
Sure. I mean, I've done it before in a lot of different roles, a lot of different ways, you know? It's like, it's what's interesting to me, you know? Where am I going to serve the project best? And then that lead role was like, you know, playing Payne Lindsay. I'm like, I think we could probably get a better actor to play you, you know? I think
better looking or...
1000% get a better looking actor than me to play you. Yes. I don't know. I mean, I still think it's a fascinating story that needs to be told. And
I mean, yeah, I was like talking to Donald last night, and this came. I was like, I'm seeing Milo tomorrow.
Yeah.
We're like, whatever happened to that? I mean, we're all busy. We're doing stuff, and you know, we kicked it around a little bit, but didn't sell it or anything. But
you know, it's also too. It's like finding the right partners.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and right partners in terms, in this case, writer.
Yes.
Finding the right writer.
Yep.
You know, because I know we'd had a few different guys that were interested in it and whatnot, but the story that they were telling just it wasn't selling. The good news is it's an evergreen idea. That's a great story to tell.
Maybe it's better 10 years later or something, right?
Exactly. And development is long, really, really, really long. I mean, somebody was saying to me there was some movie that went into production or was going into production roughly soon that was in a development list of somebody like 15 years ago.
What?
Yeah, some feature film. I think my manager was talking about it. Yeah. I'll come up with what it is.
That's crazy.
But development's long. You know, it takes time. And also too, where it's like, you know, we couldn't do the traditional television scripted television thing with it. It's like, okay, cool, we got to feature film it. All right, let's find a way to do that. Let's architect that. See if we can't do that with it. So
you do a lot of press junkets and stuff, you know, interviews for new shows, movies. What's the question that you get asked the most that you're just like, oh God, and you answer it nicely, but you're like,
probably the first question you asked about Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Is it?
I think everybody goes back to it, yeah.
They're like, oh, this is so crazy.
No. But what was great about it was literally last night, I'm in my garage ripping the fucker apart, and I find the script. I'm like, this is new. This is something new. And the story never gets old. It's one of those things, you know, anybody does some research online, they do some deep diving, like that pops up. And I get it. And I fucking 1000% understand
it. Right.
You know, so it doesn't get old, but it's also like,
You're like, good one. Yeah.
No,
how'd you find that? Yeah.
No, it's okay. It's probably like the very first thing on Wikipedia.
Actually, it is. Yeah, I think it is.
I'll bet it is. I'll bet it is. Yeah.
They made sure to add that, didn't they?
They have to.
Yeah, because it starts there.
First paid gig, work with Will Smith.
Obviously, that's in there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Gilmore Girls is a big thing. Maybe they have like a cult-like following.
They do.
Do you get tired of being asked those questions?
Not at all, man.
Or are you just afraid to answer that because you don't want them to come after you?
No, not at all. It's not quite like a Taylor Swift posse.
right.
But they are diehard fans.
Yeah.
Like a couple nights ago, I was out getting some food. I was at this restaurant, little spot in Santa Monica, Good Noodles, called Blossom. It's a pho restaurant. Sitting outside, and walking past was a director that I'd worked with on This Is Us. He had done a ton of episodes. Really sweet guy named Chris. I saw his wife and oldest daughter walk first, but they didn't recognize me. And then I see Chris and his younger daughter walk past. I'm like, Chris. He's like, hey. And we stop. We're talking. Meet his younger daughter. You know, give hugs, hello, see in the neighborhood, and he walks off. So then get back to my soup. And then he walks back and he goes, hey, so my older daughter wanted to meet you. And his older daughter's not breathing. She's just not breathing at all.
Check on your daughter, dude. Okay.
No, pretty much. And she's just like, Gilmore Girls is my favorite show. And I'm like, cool. How many times have you seen the entire season all the way through? The entire show, 7 seasons all the way through. She's like, 4.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow.
Those numbers are low. You get those numbers
Comparatively,
up.
nah. Like I've heard some people have been 7, 8, 9 times through all 7 seasons, which is bananas.
Damn.
I don't know how some they must not work.
Dude, don't work. Their TV's broken.
You were about
now.
to say no judgment, man. Like judgment.
Yeah, no, that one is like that's too
Judgment.
much. So there's something wrong. We should talk about this.
Either that or it's pure comfort food, and that
Yeah.
you can't.
It's probably that.
I'll bet it's that.
You're looking at one over there who's.
It's comfort
When
food,
I
right?
first brought up your name years ago, she was like, "Oh my god, the guy from Gilmore Girls." I was like, "I don't know." And I was like, "Oh, it looks like him." Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. Then she proceeded to show me a lot of episodes.
Oh yeah, dude. I even last night I found the Jess's leather jacket.
Really?
Like his leather. Let's see, yeah, you know exactly what we're talking about.
I was
yeah.
like, okay, like what's that one again?
Yeah, no, it wasn't an episode. It's just there was like this leather jacket that
Okay.
Jess wore that became like Jess's leather jacket. Super iconic. I have it. I found it last night. It was like in a bin at my house in the garage. Yeah, I found like all these random costume shit. I was like, oh, interesting.
It's like that role was one of those things where people might know you from that or started there.
Yeah.
My personal favorite of yours, which I want to know how you were able to get into this character.
Can't wait, man.
Because it's just the level of, I mean, I'll find it. Hold on.
Oh, you're going to give me a photo?
I'm going to play a clip from it.
Oh. Oh, this is Fergie. Big Girls Don't Cry, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah. The best part is la, da, 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 when oh wow, that was me. Oh, crazy.
It looks like
I
it.
look more like you, man. I was covered in tattoos.
This is a badass dude right here.
Yeah,
That's a bad boy
he was
vibe.
a drug dealer.
Oh shit.
He was dealing drugs. He was doing some like bad stuff. He wasn't too nice to Stacy.
No.
No, he was not. She's lovely though.
I bet she is.
She's super, super kind. I don't even know how they came up. I just got a phone call, I think, from my manager. Like, hey, Fergie wants to put you in a music video. And I was like, all right.
You say yes to that.
Of course. I think but I was a little more like, all right. Like, how? Why? I don't get it. Why me? Why? You know,
Yeah.
I know who Fergie is. I knew her boyfriend at the time, or maybe were they married? Josh Duhamel, because we were both doing shows on NBC. But then, yeah, I just showed up and like, you know, one day got all these tattoos put on me and, you know, dealing drugs and hanging out with Fergie and just, you know, she'd never really done anything performative like that.
Okay,
She
like
was
an acting part in
yeah,
a music
yeah,
video
yeah.
sort of thing.
Yeah, and like she was great, you know, she was great, but also like had to sing and do all that stuff too.
Uh-huh.
And she's wonderful. Yeah.
Tell me about your
Getting into the role? That one?
yeah.
Hard to believe it. I was dealing drugs earlier in the day.
I mean, you're a method actor for that one.
Yeah.
You got to
Totally.
go sling some dough for a little
Yeah,
bit.
totally. Sit in a chair a few hours, get some
Be a
tattoos.
piece of shit to everyone
totally.
around you. Yeah.
Totally.
Yeah, just I'm preparing my role. Yeah.
Pretty much.
Is there your relationship to veterans, military?
Yeah.
Tell me about that.
My dad's a Vietnam vet.
Mm-hmm.
Like I said, I wanted to go into the Navy to fly jets. I feel like I'd always had this calling to serve that I never went in the direction of wearing the uniform. And because of it, I was like, well, how do I serve that community? How do I actually take what I've done as an actor with the platform that I have and give back to that community? So it started, one of my agents that works on the foundation side of an old agency I was with, she pulled me into a USO tour. And so I went to Iraq and Afghanistan in 2008.
What's that like?
Fucking war.
Right.
Yeah. I mean,
Is it
listen,
scary?
I think there were moments that were real.
Mm-hmm.
Very real, you know. I almost fell out of a Black Hawk.
Jeez.
The doors were open, and I was just taking photographs of all kinds of stuff. We were in Afghanistan, and I remember we had just gotten back from a sortie out to FOB Tillman, Forward Operating Base Tillman, named after Pat Tillman. And right when our helicopters landed on base, they were loading up caskets. 2 caskets, onto a C-17 to send them back to Delaware, Dover, pass through where all of our KIA
What did that
go.
feel like, seeing that?
Real. Because you're in a desert that kind of looks like Arizona. Iraq looks like Arizona. Afghanistan kind of looks like Palm Springs. But you're in a war zone, and you're watching a lot of Americans and other forces that are partnering with America, fight some injustices and stuff over there, and you're seeing civilians that live over there, and it's just a very real experience. And I was a spectator to a degree. If you're not wearing the uniform, like, you're spectating. The ones that are wearing the uniform are like, they're really doing the work over there.
They're in battle, right?
They're in battle, or they're in support roles, or they're in theater. Like, they are there in the capacity of representing the U.S. Anyhow, I went to Iraq and Afghanistan, and after that, I met some other veterans, kind of, that had done their duty. A guy named Paul Rykoff, who started and ran the Iraq and Afghanistan Veterans of America, and Todd Bowers, who was in between deployments, staff sergeant in the Marine Corps, and I just got to be friends with them. And then I was like, well, how can I be involved? And when I hesitated using the word spectator, I feel like there are real spectators from my side of things that want that experience of war without actually having that experience of war.
What do you mean? Oh, you mean like they talk the talk but don't walk the walk or something?
They want to go and they want to see what it's all like, and they want to be protected, and when they get home, they don't do anything with that information.
Okay. They want to just voyeuristically or something, right?
Kinda. And I've seen that a lot, It's like, it's a very rare thing to be invited into the military space in whatever capacity you are, going to a war zone, or going to Walter Reed Hospital, or spending time with Gold Star families. Like, it's a commitment that you don't ever walk away from.
Yeah.
So when I say spectator, I would see, like, my early entrance into that world of working with veterans groups or active duty or whatnot. A lot of actors, musicians, athletes that were there.
Yeah.
But when that experience was done, that tour was done, that meet at the hospital was done, they kind of like fuck off back into their lives.
So what'd you do differently?
Stayed involved. I still do what I can for Gold Star family. So anybody that doesn't know what a Gold Star family is, it's a family member, mother, daughter, husband, wife, child of someone who's killed in combat. You get that designation of being a Gold Star family member. That community, is experiencing the worst of what war is. They're lost. Their loved ones are lost. And because of that, the nation owes them a great deal of gratitude and support, financial or other. And I think there are some systems in place that fail those families in times. So I do some work with some groups and more individuals that have a high impact on those families. Staying involved with that. Also trying to get a war memorial built. The Vietnam War Memorial. There's Korean War memorials, World War II, World War I. The global war on terrorism, there's finally going to be a memorial, but that was an uphill battle to get. Like, there were senators in the Senate that were going against bills that would give it proper placement. I won't name any names, but, talking to Senator Manchin and having him block something, it's like, well, all right, dude, that's not right. I'm going to go to Twitter and I'm going to go on the news. I'm going to go do some stuff and, not to be antagonistic, but to let people in my sphere know that you're blocking this. And of course he relents. And of course placement happens on the National Mall where it should be, So it's like, just for me, it's staying active, and the job, the task, the mission is always going to change. But for me, giving support to the military, which is apolitical, which is for the people, for the nation, supports the Constitution, like, I always just want to do what I can to serve that group.
I want to say congratulations. You got married.
I did.
How'd you know you found the one?
It's like when you're in greatness, you just, around somebody great, you get completely enraptured in it. So That's all I'll say about that.
Yeah. Well, okay. That's true. Fair. But you did go on a secret wedding, which is cool.
Yeah.
And like, that's exactly what I would do. I'm not going to, hit TMZ up about it. That's kind of badass that you were just cool. We're going to go do this, and I'm not going to let you guys in, right?
I mean, listen, this kind of goes back to the conversation we had earlier, what's the downside? Everybody wants to know your business. So are private moments really that private? Are personal moments really that personal?
Yeah.
And, I feel that even someone in my position who's in the public eye, a public figure, when we say celebrity, a public figure,
sure,
we have a right to privacy as well.
Yeah.
We have a right to have moments be sacred, to be private, to be only exclusively for the people that need to be there, family, So I'm grateful that we were able to do that for ourselves, to enjoy our day. And of course, being out with my wife, it's like people are going to see us and people are going to dig for information, especially the first time. And
sure,
that's what it is, And so to put out 1 or 2 wedding photos, to just be like, hey, here's me and my beautiful wife, who I love very much, who I'm very excited about. Hopefully that satisfies people.
Well, I'm happy for you, man.
Thanks,
That's
man.
awesome.
I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm a very lucky man.
That's awesome. Do you feel like sometimes people, some people in society, sort of get confused about this celebrity or person of interest or public figure, and they kind of don't respect the privacy thing?
Absolutely.
That it gives them permission somehow
absolutely.
to just omit it?
Well, it's also too, we in the public, we have massive targets on our back. People just are constantly taking shots at us. People can have a comment about me being married or me being single or me hanging out with my buddies or whatever, walking my dog.
Yeah.
Everyone can have a comment, but also I can't have a comment about anything, So
right.
It's interesting when people think that the privacy of someone in the public is kind of out the window, but
like you threw it away or something. Or you owe it to someone
or you owe it to somebody.
Right?
Yeah. Or, people will deny, that I'm even married. And it's like, nah, I'm pretty fucking married.
It's like, I promise.
Yeah.
Do you feel the need to protect relationships like that from
absolutely
duty that, hey, I'm not going to have this tainted by any of this?
I've had moments in my career where, let's just say, someone who was a fan of my work crossed the line and trying to engage my parents.
Really?
And my parents having to, or not quite understanding someone's intentions, or I'd have to kind of pull them inside a sphere of protection, So you do the best you can. You give very little information. You still try and be charming and fun and have a good conversation with people. But at the end of the day, it's like, there's a public persona and there's a private persona. And I often think that the public persona, when was the last time you went to Disneyland?
It's been a couple years.
But when you were there, you probably went on the Haunted Mansion ride, right?
Of course.
Okay. At the very end of the ride, when you're sitting in your Doom buggy and there's a green ghost that sits next to you.
Yeah.
That's what celebrities like. Yeah. Imagine a green ghost follows you everywhere you go. Everywhere you go. Looks like you, talks like you, sounds like you, but it's not you. That's the public facing persona.
Yeah.
And then there's who you are as a person, fundamentally, human being. That's who you get to be when the cameras don't roll, when the audio isn't recording, and you can just hang out across the table from your buddy from a long time,
Yeah.
So it's like there's something you always give to the public, but then there's got to be something you hang on to for yourself entirely. So and I think a lot of that I've really tried to maintain is my relationships, my family, because they're for me.
Well, I mean, I think you do an amazing balancing job, man.
Thanks, man.
I look up to you.
I appreciate that.
You're doing it the best out of
Thanks, man. I was going to say one other thing actually to that, though. I think it's important for performers to, in a way, minimize who they are.
What do you mean?
Live a smaller life in who they are, because then when somebody's watching you in the role you're playing, somebody's watching Jack on This Is Us, they're watching Jack. They're not watching Milo play Jack. They're watching Jess on Gilmore Girls. They're not watching Milo play Jess. Peter, Robert Balboa Jr., Chad. Characters are more believable when people get a bit of a blank slate from you, the
like
human.
a mystique, or
I guess you can call it a mystique.
Or what is it for you?
For me, like I just try not to give too much. Like I said, there's a reflection of who I am fundamentally. Just being a decent person out in the world. Try and be kind. Try and be positive, right? But beyond that, where my real positivity that I was raised with comes from, nobody knows that. Where my real kindness that I was raised with, nobody knows where that comes from.
Yeah.
I know where that comes from.
Yeah.
So.
Or are you saying basically that it has its perks? Because you care about your acting, right? And you want to get better at that craft.
Of course.
And you found that that's been able to help you?
Yes. It has. There are many perks. Very little downside. Honestly, very little downside. I mean, listen, it's like, like I said, imagine walking around in life and people want to be nice to you. The downside is not everybody's telling you the truth.
Yeah.
Because people don't want to disappoint you or be on your bad side. I said, no, tell me the truth. Just tell me the truth always.
So you're more on a swivel. You're a little bit more.
Yeah, a little bit. But also, you understand, or you get to a point or a place where you realize you can be incredibly impactful to an individual or a group. And if you do your best to leave a positive, lasting impression on people that they will then put forward, well, then you've been a good human being. Be a good human being first, and then be a fucking kick-ass artist second.
Yeah. Last question for you.
Okay.
What are you looking forward to the most in the rest of your life right now?
That's a hard question, Payne.
You have 10 seconds.
I've got 10 seconds.
Or it doesn't come true.
Oh, man.
Just kidding.
Dinner. I'm going to go
just
home.
Just one dinner?
I'm going to go home and have dinner with my wife.
You're like, I'm so hungry, I'm starving right here.
Yeah.
Hey, touche. We should eat dinner too.
Yeah, I know, right? I think it's about that time.
It's about that dinner time. Hey, man, this has been a blast.
Brother.
Thank you so much.
Always good seeing you, man. Absolutely.
There was a lot of people out there looking for her. West Beach, all the way to the rivers, and all the way up through that country. They haven't found a body, they haven't found anything. The evidence is gone.
You sure about that? What does that tell you?
She's not there. I don't know the parameters of who she was with or what, But I do know that she was supposedly last seen with this guy. They found her things in his tent.
Did you ever come in contact with the person?
Not that I recall. I'm not saying I didn't see him or something, I just heard she was with this guy. I don't know who the guy was on the beach or something. I just heard.
Do you know who that guy may have been?
No. I don't know the guy's name. I don't even. I'm just an old man.
Yeah.
And I think logically. I'm a logical thinker. She could have wandered into the wrong tent. Some people don't like that. I mean, you're not going to drive down the damn beach and just see somebody walking along and jump out and kill them. That don't make any sense either. You must have had some interaction with her. And the people on that beach is the ones that had interaction with her. Where the guy went, I don't know.
But he's not here.
No, he's not, no. I don't know where he went, but I do know that if I was an investigator, I'd be on his ass like stink on shit.
Talking to Death is a production of Tenderfoot TV and iHeart Podcasts, created and hosted by Payne Lindsay. For Tenderfoot TV, executive producers are Payne Lindsay and Donald Albright. Co-executive producer is Mike Rooney. For iHeart Podcasts, executive producers are Matt Frederick and Alex Williams. with original music by Makeup and Vanity Set. Additional production by Mike Rooney, Dylan Harrington, Sean Nerney, Dayton Cole, and Gustav Wild for Cogito. Production support by Tracy Kaplan, Mara Davis, and Trevor Young. Mixing and mastering by Cooper Skinner and Dayton Cole. Our cover art was created by Rob Sheridan. Check out our website, talkingtodeathpodcast.com.
Thanks for listening to this episode of Talking to Death. This series is released weekly, absolutely free. But if you want ad-free listening and exclusive bonuses, you can subscribe to Tenderfoot Plus on Apple Podcasts or go to tenderfootplus.com.